Hello, my friends, it's Peg, and I'm here with bits and pieces from my artistic life. Today, I wanted to go back to what I'd started a couple of weeks ago. Remember, we started with the hashtag card culture. And if you look at that hashtag, you'll find two videos that I've already created for you about cards. And then I started thinking about it. You know, there's a lot of information to cover when it comes to card making. And so I thought, well, how am I going to keep track of what I've already shared with you? Because we've already covered some of the basics. We did a single layer card. And we also did some watercolor techniques. And those were cards that I was creating. Let me show you some of what we did. Here's one that was from the watercolor techniques. And that's fine, but I also need to keep track of what it is I'm sharing with you guys and share you other things about card making, and we want to get back to the really basic stuff because, you know, some of this may seem a bit advanced for you guys already. So let's talk about the very beginnings. Sorry, I've got this thing on my glass mat and it's jiggling my screen for you. I apologize. So, card making, ABCs. I thought, well, let's just go right through the alphabet and do that. So I thought, okay, let's start with the A's. And I just started jotting down some ideas. Let me bring this in a little bit closer. Started jotting down some ideas. And so let's talk about these things, all right? The first thing that came up for an A was acetate. And acetate can be used a number of different ways. You can buy cards that are acetate cards, and these are clear folded cards. The thing to remember is when you're working on acetate or something like that, the other type of ink that I did not talk to you about, because we were talking about inks and things, was a StazOn ink. This ink is a solvent-based ink, and it is formulated to use on those surfaces that are non-porous, which would be your acetate. So if I'm using an acetate card, and you know, you can punch things out and put them behind this. You can use the acetate as a window in another card if you're making a shaker card or something like that. But you know, this is a basic acetate surface. And that's what they're selling you, is the card blank. And these come from Hero Arts. This is an acetate card blank. Oops. Come on out of there. All right, I guess I'm just going to have to take the whole thing out. The way they come is like this. They have the acetate folder, which is clear, so I know it's hard for you to see. And they have an interior card blank, so if you wanted to cut or shape or do something and put this inside of your acetate, you can, like so. And then they also have an envelope for that, for mailing. So you could make something on here. And the nice thing about the clear acetate is it is an overlay, so you can put layers of things that you don't see necessarily through all of the layers. So if I used something like this, I could also have another piece that overlays this so you didn't see everything underneath. But that's what acetate is about. Now, if I were to use that in a shaker card, what I would do is use the acetate to retain all of those things that jiggle around in a shaker card. And we'll get to shaker cards later on, but acetate was something I wanted to talk to you about when it comes to card making, because, you know, if you haven't seen an acetate card before, and, you know, if you look in the aisles like Hallmark and all of that, you're going to see designs that intrigue you that already have acetate on them. So, but just remember, stays on ink if you're going to work on a non-porous surface. And it is a solvent-based ink. So use that. Stays on ink. And the next thing I have on my list is adhesive. Okay, there's lots of different types of adhesive when it comes to card making. My very first go-to one was just double stick tape. And I just put it into a, oops, looks like this one might be out. I just put it onto a dispenser like this so that I had it available to me. And let me get one of these out. These are permanent photo safe double stick tape. So I would not use, even though it says it's photo safe, I would not use these in a scrapbook or something like that, just because any tape that comes on a carrier, and this is definitely a tape that comes on a carrier, tends to yellow. And what I'm talking about is when you're looking at different types of tape, there's dry tape and wet tape, or dry tape on a carrier, and then there's dry tape that's just a line of tape that comes off of the carrier when you use it. So here's my double stick tape, and it's sticky once you peel back the, yeah, fumble fingers here. Once I peel this back, I'm going to get something sharp. That's not sharp. I need a knife. Okay, whoops. So now I've got it in my holder. I can just grab it real easily if I'm working on something and use that just to stick something down. And if I want to stick something to that, it's got the double stick on the back, and so you've got the two surfaces that are going to stay together. The thing is, it's really, usually, this is a coated paper, so it isn't sticking so badly, but sometimes you have to make sure that you have things where you want it, because this does not remove very easily. So that is dry adhesive. Another dry adhesive would be, this is a tape runner, but what it has is really tiny, tiny little pieces of tape in here. So when I do this, you can see I got 3 very small tape tabs. So if I'm doing very tiny things, this is a good tape to use, because I can just get that one tiny little slice of adhesive. This little piece right here is what I get for one piece. And you can see how tiny that is. So that's one type of dry adhesive. I also have dry tape runners. These come in both a permanent and a repositionable tape. So like if you're worried about sticking something down and not being able to move it or get it back up, then you probably want to get a repositionable tape. These are typically refillable, as you can see here. and it just pops open. You have to get gotta get this capture piece off the end. Pops open like so, and then this piece will come out for replacement. And that's what those are, is replacements. And they're cheap enough and easy enough to get. What it does, this is the repositionable, and it runs a line of glue dots on my paper. See the little dots? And then this one is the permanent. Which runs, oops, a very sticky line of adhesive versus the dots. So those are a couple of kinds of dry adhesive. There's also big rolls like this, which you can cut to the size that you need. If you need a larger, this is a double stick tape, and when I stick this down, tears easily. When I stick this down, it's going to peel up like so, and then I can stick to that second piece there, and it will come in nice big 6-inch wide pieces like this too. So if you want to cover a large area with something double adhesive, you can do that. There are also adhesive applying machines like the Xyron, and that is spelled Xyron. And the Xyron comes in lots of different sizes and shapes. So here are 3 examples of the Xyron machine. What you do is you take your paper. Let me get a different piece of paper here. You take your paper like this that I have cut out, and it's going to fit in this machine. This is a sticker maker. I believe this one is 2.5 inches wide. So you see there's a little symbol there. You just slide it in and you crank the wheel, and it comes out the other side, and you've created a sticker. Okay, so that's how I do that. This one is the same thing. If I wanted to take a small piece of something and punch it, let's just punch out a shape or two. I can punch this piece of paper, get a couple of stars, and then I can just drop that in here. This I think is about a 1 inch, and it just pulls from the opposite side like so. And you pull that off and clean up any excess adhesive. And there's my 2 star stickers. So that's quick and easy for a dry adhesive. And then this one is a, I think 5 or 5.5 inch, and then they have a 9 inch. So, but you can see inside of here, it just has these cartridges that drop in, so you can replace the cartridge. And there are a number of different types of cartridges that you can get. You can get adhesive, you can get laminating, magnetic, all kinds of things to go into those. So if you're truly interested in doing an investment, you may want to look at those. So let's see, where are we with this? Safety first, pull that back. All right, so we talked about acetate. We talked about dry adhesive, permanent adhesive, repositionable adhesive. There's also wet adhesive. I don't recommend wet adhesive for card making, but there are a couple of them that work really well for card making. Oh, and this is another dry adhesive. This is just a smaller tape, just like those big ones. But you can also get these adhesive pens, which I think are really good. This is a duo mono adhesive. This is a liquid glue, and it stays sticky. So if you put a line of this down, it acts very much like the double-sided adhesive. This is the same thing in a smaller pen point. This is from Zig. That one was from Tombow. But it has a pinpoint marker like this so that you can put a line of glue down. And then it also comes in a pen like this. So if I'm doing small die cuts, you know, if I want to adhere something like this, I may need to use a small pen. You can't see that on the white, can you? I may need to use a small pen to go around here and apply my glue into those very intricate areas to stick that down. Okay? And that's what this is used for. So that's kind of an overview of adhesive. Now, let me think. Is there anything I did not cover? Oh, glue sticks. Yeah, glue sticks are very handy to have also. Yoo-Hoo is a good brand. Also, the Elmer's Extreme, like this, is a good brand. You want to use a good glue stick. Not all glue sticks are the same, I will tell you. I've tried any number of them. So you may want to think about, you know, spending a little bit more and getting a little bit better adhesive. I realize that this is a card and people are not going to save it forever, but it goes through the mail and it takes some abuse going through the mail. So just think about that when you're doing these things. Okay, so that's adhesive. Another thing we want to talk about is altered art. A lot of people say, well, what's altered art? Well, altered just means it's recycled. Something started out as something else, like a book or a magazine or pictures, and it was altered. Here you can see I altered a book page and a picture out of a magazine, a ribbon. That has altered art characteristics, and that's what they're talking about. This too is altered art. I have thread and a card and a die cut, and you know, same sort of thing. These are what they call altered or recycled art. You could add, you know, your old family photos, and that would be something for an alteration. So that's what they're talking about when they're talking about altered art. Another A is an angel company. Now, rubber stamps are very popular for card making. And if you're using rubber stamps, like look at this card, it has a thank you on here. If I didn't print this off of my computer, and if this was not a font that I had purchased or in the public domain font, I would have to know whether or not this company is an angel company and will allow me to use this if I were selling this product. Okay, so when you buy a rubber stamp, you can find who the company is that the stamp is coming from on the rubber stamp typically. So let me grab one. Here is a rubber stamp, and on the edge it says it comes from Savvy Stamp Company. So you can go online and look up this www.savvystamps.com and find out what their angel policy is for use of their product, because not all companies are going to allow you to make cards for sale. Okay, So that's an Angel Policy, another A. Another A is acrylic paint. Okay, so you can use acrylic paints many ways, especially for making backgrounds on your cards. You know, I like to brayer on acrylic paints. I like to just paint images with acrylics. So they certainly can be used on cards. Assemblage, well, that's pretty much the same thing as what we were talking about with, and you'll find these things interchange, assemblage and the altered art. Assemblage just means taking a collection of items. This is a collection of items. This is a collection of items. You know, if I decide to add this to my collection, that is then assembled into something, sometimes 3D. And what I mean by 3D is that there will be raised surfaces. You can see I have some, oh, and I didn't talk to you about that. Sometimes if you want a raised surface, another adhesive to use would be foam tape, because it's dimensional and it will give you some depth. And you can find foam tape just about at any office supply. This happens to come from the dollar store, and it comes in these little pieces that are already ready for you to tear off or cut into smaller pieces for use. So, and then the other type of adhesive that many people like to use are what's called glue dots. And when you pull this out, okay, there we go. You'll see that there's a little piece here that's got a dot of glue on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a little tiny dot of glue on it. And you just peel off the paper, and that leaves the sticky surface for you to glue something to. I've got this pulled out too far. Oh well. Okay. And then another A would be anti-static. When you're doing embossing with powders and things, or if you're working with a powdered mica or something like that, many times you need to use an anti-static tool, which is, here's one. This one has powder in it, and you can see there's like powder or resin in here, rosin in it. And what it'll do is keep stuff from sticking, from having that static cling when you're working with it. So I was trying to find my other one. There are other ones on the market that are refillable. I just don't see it right here, right now. Here we go. This one is also anti-static, and it comes with a little brush tip. I think this one came from EK Success, and it just has a little brush tip, and you can put your own talc inside of here just by opening up the bottom. And putting the talc in there. But if I wanted to work on a card, oh dear, my hands aren't working today, sorry guys. Get this thing started. Here we go. All right. If I want to work on a card, you know, and things like black are always tough to do, what I'll do is I'll take my anti-static powder and just, you know, brush that on my surface before I begin to keep things from clinging. to my card. And some people even use like the wipe up things. You know, these are, what do they call these? They're for dusting, but they also do the anti-static thing, and it works good for glitter and stuff like that on your desk. But if I wanted to stamp this in, say, a Versamark, and let's get a stamp. So remember the other day, now this is a very dirty pad. This should be cleaned because it's full of embossing powder and all kinds of things, because I'm a messy girl. But remember, I'm going to look at my stamp. I'm going to ink it up like so. Make sure it's nice and wet. I want that nice wet surface that I'm going to take to my card. And then I'm just going to stamp that onto my card. With a little bit of pressure. And make sure that that ink is transferring onto my paper. Sometimes if it's a really big stamp, I will actually turn it over and put the paper on top and press it that way. So these are pearl powders. And I have some very soft brushes. This happens to be one that you get in a set with the powders. So is this one. And what you do is, now that that image is on here, is you would take these powders, and make sure that they're knocked down inside of there. You would take these powders and you would drop it on the ink like so. But you don't want a bunch of static cling when you're doing this. I'm just going to get another color here just to give you an idea what this can look like. And I didn't get a really superb stamping on that, but we're going to get something good here. All right, so I'm going to put the lid back on these before I make a mess, because I am a messy girl. I'm going to put the lid on my ink as well, and then I'm just going to lightly apply that powder with a brush. I'm going to tap off the excess, and then, you know, we use that anti-static on there, and then I'm going to grab that other dusting cloth and just clean off the excess. From everywhere. And you can see what you get is this iridescence bit here. And then, you know, this is not a waste, because I can still come in and punch something out of here and add to it. This would be the background then. And I can look at this and I can say, where do I want this to punch? That punch isn't going to reach in far enough, so I would probably die cut a piece in here, and then I might take an additional piece, or, you know, something like this, and start layering to create my collage card, right? So let's see, where are we? I think we covered all of the A's that I had written down this morning. There may be more. There may be more. You guys might even come up with a few and have a few questions for me. Let's see, a card with an A. How about A for anniversary? Anybody got any of those coming up? You might need to make a few cards. So that's it from me for card culture for right now, and I'll be back soon with B. So bye, guys.